Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including massive Cybertruck discounts, a new Tesla prototype spotted in the wild, new details for Tesla's upcoming products, and more. So let's get into it, and a special thanks to Novium for sponsoring this video. First up today, the future of Tesla is very much not just making electric cars. It's making a lot of other AI-based products and things like humanoid robots. And this week we've seen a few photos of their upcoming products in particular. First, Tesla shared a new image of the Optimus robot, and they said, "Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto." Technically, this photo was originally a poster from the We Robot event, so we have seen it before, but now it has officially been released on the Optimus X page. It definitely shows a very cool design for this robot, and it appears that this is most likely looking at the Robotaxi. Now, speaking of the Robotaxi, Tesla is out testing the Robotaxi, or the Cybercab, at Giga Texas actively. We know that they've been very busy doing this, and even in videos that they've shown off of the Model Y and Cybertruck operating autonomously at their factory, we see it pass by some Cybercabs that are testing. Here are some great photos from Joe Tegmeyer, though, of the Cybercab testing over at Giga Texas. This overhead view shows a very cool look for this car that definitely looks like the future. Here we see another angle, and of course it has that same exact look from this angle. I think the gold really shines in this lighting. Here we can see it from behind with its right blinker on, about to make a turn. And then here it is from another angle driving down the road. On the side it says Cybercab, and I believe it also says Tesla Engineering. The design of this car is very cool, so I do hope that this comes to be and that we do see it in some form later this year. But we'll have to see what form Tesla actually plans to release self-driving and autonomous rides later this year. And speaking of that, for the Cybercab, there's a new job listing specifically for operating the Robotaxi network. Tesla has posted a new job for Diagnostics Engineer Robotaxi Operations, and specifically says Tesla is seeking a diagnostics engineer to enhance diagnostics and repair of driverless vehicles used as robotaxis, working on-site at our Mission Control and Operations Hub. This role will leverage the unique advantages of a fleet of Tesla-owned homogeneous vehicles to fundamentally rethink how our service teams diagnose and repair vehicles. This definitely is a glimpse at the future here, and that really will be how this robotaxi network works for Tesla. It will be a central hub at their Texas factory, seemingly, operating all of their internally run robotaxis that are out there on their own. Seemingly at the beginning, they'll be able to check in on them and potentially even be able to remote in if something were to go wrong. But then in the long future, they should be able to operate tons of robotaxis simultaneously without much monitoring. Then if something does happen where the car needs a repair, or it didn't make it to a charging station, or there is some issue, this is where that gets diagnosed. Now, on the other side of things is the customer experience at a Tesla charger, and Tesla has been actively building their supercharger that is a diner in Hollywood. We've seen photos of this diner coming together, and now two 45-foot LED movie screens have been put up and turned on at this facility. This definitely looks like it'll be something special, but it also will probably be the single most used supercharger in the entire world and the one with the longest lines. Especially when it first opens, I expect that it might even be hard to get a spot to charge there. So it's definitely not a spot you're going to want to just input into your normal road trip. It's a little bit more of a destination charger, even though it will charge quickly. Next up today, now that the Model Y is widely available and actually available in inventory in some areas of the United States, the question is, when will the next trims of this car come out? Of course, we're expecting a rear-wheel drive long-range version of this new Model Y refresh, and then we're expecting something like the performance version to come soon. If they follow the same pattern as the Model 3, that will come a few months after the Model Y and actually include some cosmetic changes and things that really differentiate it other than its performance. But there have also been rumors of two other types of Model Y vehicles that could be coming this year. One is the one that people very much hope for, which is a super long-range Model Y, something that actually nears more of a range of something like 400 miles. But then on the other side of things is the stripped down Model Y. Well, this week over in China, a new Model Y was spotted covered up. And it's raising a lot of questions because why does Tesla need to cover this up if they're out there selling this car in large quantities in China? From the rear, it has the same covering that we saw for months leading up to the release of the Model Y Juniper, showing that there's something different about the rear of this car. and then we can see it from the side here. It definitely does still have that indent for the light bar in the back there, but something may be different. This also is riding on the stock wheels that come with this car, and then it's covered up all the way to the rear doors. Now the photo from the front is not very good, and it's taken through the mirror from a distance, but there are only 2 slits for those front headlights. If we look at the new Model Y, this has a light bar all the way across the front there, and then the headlights are sitting below that. This detail could just be because of camera blur, but it looks like those are 2 headlights that are actually a little bigger than the light bar is. If that location is operating as the headlights, it looks like this could be a much different Model Y that is going with much more standard lights instead of that light bar with the headlights below it. So this leads me to definitely think that this is the stripped down Model Y that could be coming later this year. If we look at the new Cybertruck rear-wheel drive, Tesla got rid of the rear light bar, and they would particularly need to be covering that up here since that would be pretty obvious. The rear light bar is definitely an identifier of this new Model Y, so if they're driving with a new one, but it doesn't have a rear light bar, even if it just doesn't glow, that's a big change. And then around front, it could be slightly different lights, or it could be simply the same. Maybe something's only changing in the front or only the rear, but they're keeping the covers the same as to not raise further suspicion. I mean, if they only had a rear cover, it would definitely narrow it down that the front is staying the same, but the rear is having a change. So when we look at the Cybertruck, let's look at the things that the Cybertruck rear-wheel drive removed that they probably would do the same with for the Model Y. First is the HEPA filter. The HEPA filter is something that has been standard for years on all trims of the Model Y, but if we're getting one that's even cheaper, that seems very possible, especially considering they removed it on a $70,000 Cybertruck. That's not the biggest deal in the world, but then comes the air suspension. The Cybertruck removed the air suspension for the rear-wheel drive trim, so maybe this cheaper Model Y could be a less premium suspension there. The rear-wheel drive Cybertruck has textile seats that replace the premium seats, and that seems almost guaranteed for this cheaper Model Y. Then there are no rear heated seats and no front cooled seats, and I would say that that is also guaranteed because that's what comes with textile seats, and then not having the rear heated seats is something that helps them reduce cost, and they're probably used a lot less. The rear-wheel drive Cybertruck has headlights without signature lamps, and that could definitely be a part of whatever Tesla changes here, not having the nicest headlights in the world, fewer speakers, and then a lower payload capacity. But then the big change would probably be range and the battery pack size. For the Cybertruck rear-wheel drive, they actually increased its price from what they announced a little over a year ago, and that's because they went with a long-range version instead. It gets around 350 miles of range, which is great, but of course it raised its price to $70,000. So we expect the opposite to happen with this cheaper Model Y, and that's because we've already seen a rear-wheel drive long-range trim for years. That's probably coming soon in the United States. It's already available in a lot of other markets, so they'd probably actually reduce the range, make a standard range rear-wheel drive Model Y with a lot of stripped down features so that they can get that price down. At this point, we've swung all the way from a brand new $25,000 Tesla vehicle that would be smaller, using their unboxed assembly process and made with 4680 cells, all the way to a stripped down Model Y. Now, a stripped-down Model Y is actually a good idea for Tesla. This is the base model that almost all other car companies ship, but it's just very anticlimactic compared to what Tesla has been talking about for years now. They've talked about more affordable models coming in the first half of 2025 more recently, so if this is it, along with a stripped-down Model 3, it won't be that exciting, but it might sell, depending on the price tag. And then ultimately, of course, it all comes down to affordability and the fact that Tesla can actually ship these cars and make a profit. That's what allows them to scale up faster than any other automaker, because other automakers, especially in the United States, are losing money each time they're selling their cars. Economies of scale do exist, but they still have to refine in order to make that not just become a bigger loss. So when it comes to price, of course, that Cybertruck didn't drop its price, but it's because of the range, and here it seems like they could actually drop the range, which they'll probably do, which could get us closer to $35,000. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see something like $38,000. The new long-range version of the Model Y starts at $48,990. So when we see the rear-wheel drive version come to be, that could be something like $4,000 cheaper than that, and then another $4,000 to $6,000 cheaper than that could be this new, more affordable model. It seems like it will be a smart move for Tesla to do this, but it's just disappointing to many customers who are hoping for something new from them. Instead, we're just kind of getting something worse. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Novium. Novium makes a line of innovative high-end products designed to stand out as both functional tools and desk art. Their spacecraft-inspired hover pens defy gravity without any plugs or electricity. This sleek, refillable pen floats perfectly in its stand and writes extremely well. The Hover Pen Interstellar floats at a 23.5-degree angle, the same angle that the Earth rotates on its axis. It comes in 4 different colors: Space Black, Starlight Silver, Neptune Blue, and Mars Magma. In 2022, it won the Time Award as one of the best inventions of the year. Then the premium version is 18-karat gold-plated. Novium also offers the Hover Pen Future, which looks like a rocket and features a 2-in-1 design, which allows you to swap between a fountain pen and rollerball tip. Novium hover pens are a great gift idea for any tech or science enthusiast. They come in a beautiful, ready-to-gift package, which includes the Hover Pen Interstellar and a bunch of accessories. To check out these amazing pens with free shipping to most countries, click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen. Then use my code RyanShaw to get 10% off your purchase. In any case, it seems that Tesla could be launching quite soon over in India, because over in Mumbai, India, the Model Y was spotted out testing in camo. A lot of people are confused as to why it needs to be camo wrapped here, especially since you can see all of its features, like that rear light bar, but it's just because it hasn't been available in this market yet. So this does hint that Tesla could be out testing, getting ready to launch this car soon. That would be a big move for Tesla because it would open them up to a market that they have not tapped before. Over at Giga Berlin as well, a camouflaged Model Y was spotted, which raises even more questions. Why is this being produced out of Giga Berlin in that wrap? But some think that this is the car destined to go test out in a market like India. However, there's another photo of that car side by side with one that has the black cover on it. So it seems like Tesla is out testing some form of a different Model Y, along with one that may be the same but just camouflaged to not draw attention, but at the same time draw some attention to it. Either way, those are being produced at Giga Berlin, and as we've seen with the Model Y, it's always being produced at 4 different factories. So when a new trim of this comes, even if it's a lower, stripped down one, it will probably come simultaneously across the majority of the world. But when it comes to a stripped down Model Y, if that really is what's coming, what other features do you think Tesla would reduce in order to bring down costs? Something like not including a glass roof could be something, but that's something they've never done in the past. So we'll have to see, and of course that involves safety, and maybe they simply prefer the glass roof. I think we'd see cheaper, larger wheels that utilize a larger tire, and maybe the removal of certain features like wireless charging. But what do you think? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Next up today, the Cybertruck has been in an interesting position for quite some time because we were waiting for the rear-wheel drive Cybertruck, and then Tesla decided not to actually make that standard range version. Instead, they went long range, so the car still only starts at $70,000 when that trim comes to be in June or July of this year. However, when this car first launched, they did the Foundation series, and they ended up making way too many of those cars because they are still trying to get rid of these in inventory and offering incredibly steep discounts to do so. Reports are in that Tesla is now offering Cybertruck inventory discounts up to $10,550 off, and that is an increase from what we previously saw up to $6,000 off. So for non-Foundation Series 2024 model years, we're seeing $10,550 off. And then for Foundation Series, we're also seeing about $10,000 off. This is specific to the 2024 model, and I believe that has to do with tax credit purposes, why people would want the 2025 instead of the 2024. So they're having an extra hard time getting rid of these 2024 Cybertrucks. In my area, I see an all-wheel drive demo vehicle with an $8,000 price adjustment, so it has 2,000 miles on it, but it only costs $71,990. This is a demo vehicle, and it's a 2024 model, but it's only a couple $1,000s more than that rear-wheel drive will be with all of its downgrades. Then when you scroll through the inventory page as a whole, you see lots of discounts, usually around $8,000, but some of them are up to $8,200, up to $10,000 and more. For instance, here's a 2024 brand new Foundation Series for $10,000 off, and then it includes free supercharging for life. That's an incredible deal, and it definitely makes early adopters here pretty disappointed, because that's a $10,000 discount on the exact car that they just bought, and it includes free supercharging. While many reports said that discounts were up to $10,500 off, I'm actually seeing a number of Cyber Beast Cybertrucks up to $12,000 off. Here, the price out the door is $108,000 instead of $120,000 for all of those specs and everything included with the Cyber Beast, and then of course, free lifetime supercharging. Again, these are 2024 vehicles and the Foundation Series, but those discounts are pretty steep. But over in Canada, it seems to be a little bit worse, with discounts up to $16,000 off. For the Foundation Series Cyberbeast, Drive Tesla Canada is reporting discounts of $16,590 off in Canadian dollars, bringing the price down quite a lot. But of course, those are Canadian dollars, so it's different than the US. It's pretty crazy to see this situation for the Cybertruck, and it's something that really showcases, like it always does with Tesla, that if you wait for a brand new vehicle, it's always going to be better for you. It's going to be better quality long term, and then you'll likely get a hefty discount by actually waiting. Early adopters never really get rewarded by Tesla, except for the fact that you get that car early on and it's exciting. Usually you're paying a premium and accepting some bugs or issues with the car in order to do that. But speaking of Canada, as a result of tariffs, we've seen this situation change quite a bit for the Model S and X. We know that in China, you can no longer order those vehicles, so Tesla does not plan to import those from the US over to China. But in Canada, it may be a similar situation. For the Model S and X, Tesla has removed the Order Now option and replaced it with a View Inventory button on the main page. Tesla does this oftentimes when they have high inventory of certain vehicles, so that could be the primary reason here, but it also could have to do with tariffs involved with the Model S and X specifically. That situation is all in flux, so we'll see how that all develops, but we know that the Model S and X are the least priority cars for Tesla, so if they can't really import those to various countries, I don't think they'll be too concerned. In any case, the Cybertruck and Model Y are still fully available to order in Canada, showing that I guess inventory isn't stacking up on those cars, but it seems to be for the Model S and X, and then also the Model 3 as well. The fact that the Model 3 is included with the S and X really indicates this might not have to do with tariffs after all. But regarding tariffs and the Cybercab, that's Tesla's upcoming, more affordable vehicle. Of course, we don't know when it will arrive, and it relies on them achieving full self-driving. But of course, in order to get that price down, they need the parts to be low cost. And new reports have said that people with direct knowledge say that Tesla has apparently suspended a parts order for both the Cybercab and Semi that was set to come from China as a result of the tariff war between the country and the US. This report is coming from Reuters, and a lot of people have put this report into question, saying that it's just basing it on some assumptions having to do with tariffs. But if this article is accurate, it seems that Tesla has suspended some plans to get some of the parts for the Cybercab from China, in favor of figuring out an alternative solution with less cost attached to it because of tariffs. So again, if this is true, it could result in a higher cost for the robotaxi, or it could mean that Tesla has to delay this car. Either way, people have put this report into question, so I wouldn't really worry too much about it at this point until we really see how these tariffs shape up and what Tesla's overall plans are for the Cybercab as a whole in general. Of course, full self-driving has to be achieved first, so I think that's kind of the bigger step. But speaking of the Cybertruck, it could be facing even steeper competition in the near future here. Chevy has announced that the Silverado EV 3WT should be coming for the 2026 model year, and it could get a range of up to 350 miles and come in around $50,000 or less. It's going to achieve that price and range with an LFP battery pack, which is something that's kind of exciting because that means that LFP pack is probably made in the US, and it means it's probably the largest LFP battery pack ever shipped on a vehicle. That helps, of course, to keep the cost down, and then this is great Cybertruck competition because it's 350 miles of range for $20,000 less than Tesla's rear-wheel drive Cybertruck. The Silverado in particular is also very versatile and designed as a specific work truck, so it really does take on the Cybertruck, especially in particular markets. But the real question is, does Chevy lose money on every single one of these that they sell, or will they be profitable on these $50,000 Chevy Silverado EVs? Of course, that's part of why the Cybertruck's cost is now $70,000 to start. They need to be profitable on this, and it costs them more than they expect to make. But regardless, this could take a lot of customers from the Cybertruck in the meantime. Last up today, some updates from other automakers. Over at VW, they're hard at work on more affordable EVs, which is the goal for most electric car manufacturers. VW just showed off their latest affordable design, the VW Every1, which they describe as the last piece of the puzzle in their own EV lineup. This is a small, compact car designed for short commutes, and it will be great for people, particularly in cities. It's based on the existing ID.2 platform, with a smaller battery and a shorter wheelbase. So it will have a modest top speed of 81 miles per hour, and it should be able to go at least 155 miles on a charge. Of course, that's not particularly high as a range, and it's not particularly powerful, and there's even freeways in the United States where you couldn't actually go the speed limit. But it should be a great vehicle for people in smaller areas and cities. But of course, the selling point there is the price at only 17,000 British pounds. It has a fun, futuristic design, and even though it's small, it has 4 seats and a pretty spacious truck. And then of course it will be very software focused and will incorporate some of their technology that they're taking from Rivian, or at least partnering with Rivian on. The timeline for this car, unfortunately, has not been announced yet, and then unfortunately it doesn't look like they're planning to bring this to North America, but most expect it to debut in Europe by 2027. It's always exciting to see more affordable EVs actually coming to market, or at least being worked on by these companies, but we do need more affordable cars with longer ranges first. Over at Xiaomi, they have recognized just how much going fully electric can bring a lot of benefits regarding power and performance. Speed and performance that previously may have seemed somewhat impossible is now being enabled by electric vehicles at a fairly low cost. For instance, the Model S Plaid was the world's quickest accelerating vehicle for a long time, and while it has since been edged out by Lucid, it's an extremely high-performing car. But competition out of China has been Tesla's biggest threat as of late, and we're now seeing it from Xiaomi, who is also beating the Plaid. This video was shared and compares the Xiaomi SU7 Ultra in a drag race against the Model S Plaid. At the beginning, the Model S starts off going a bit quicker, but the SU7 takes over and sails past it. The Model S outputs 1,020 horsepower, but the SU7 Ultra has a ridiculous 1,527 horsepower. So this car actually has higher performance and a cheaper price. The Model S Plaid over in China costs about $112,000, which is much more than the US, and it seems that we won't actually see that car getting delivered into the future here. But the SU7 Ultra only costs the equivalent of $72,800. So we are seeing Chinese companies beating Tesla in specs and price with specific vehicles. What I'm curious to see is if this is one of the vehicles that makes Tesla finally decide to refresh the Model S. It has been long overdue, and Tesla's head of engineering, Lars Moravy, has said that it will get a refresh later this year. Will that just be a cosmetic refresh, or will they try to edge out these cars once again, like the Lucid Air Sapphire and now the Xiaomi SU7? Now, speaking of affordable electric vehicles, there's a new electric car startup called Slate Auto, and it's backed by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. They are looking at developing an all-electric pickup truck with a price around $25,000. And ultimately, the initiative aims to provide an affordable EV option in a market where the average US EV price is about $60,000. Preliminary images of this car reveal a design reminiscent of cars like the Ford Bronco, and they have a wide rectangular grille with round headlights. But ultimately, they're aiming for a radically simple solution to the common affordable car. But for now, information on this company as a whole is very limited. I personally, at first glance, find it very interesting that they would start with a pickup truck instead of something like a crossover SUV, which is the best-selling vehicle category in the US. A $25,000 pickup truck is exciting, but only has so much appeal. But we are expected to hear more information about Slate Auto as a whole and their electric pickup truck come April 24th. One particular aspect that the Newsweek article mentions is that, quote, Slate aims to beat Tesla to the punch with an inexpensive, compact electric vehicle for the everyman. And people do feel like Tesla has really been lagging in this space, whereas originally they were on this track to make a more affordable electric vehicle. Over at Lucid Motors, they of course have the Lucid Air and the Lucid Gravity, and those are expensive luxury vehicles. But soon they're planning for a mid-size SUV. They're progressing with their plans to enter this market sometime in 2026, and they're targeting a price of around $50,000. So this directly competes with a lot of popular cars like the Tesla Model Y, Mustang Mach-E, Hyundai Ioniq 5, and Rivian R2, which is still yet to ship. Reportedly, the company is actively preparing assembly lines and collaborating with vendors to ensure a timely launch, and in response to US tariffs, they're securing agreements with battery cell and graphite suppliers to establish production facilities in the US, helping to mitigate production costs. This all comes as Lucid has changed over their CEO. Peter Rawlinson resigned, and Mark Winterhoff has taken over as interim CEO. Lucid plans to launch a more affordable touring variant of the Gravity SUV later in 2025 with a starting price of about $80,000. And if they can achieve that, that will definitely be very successful and could even wipe out competitors like the Model X. When you really look at what that car is supposed to deliver, it's an incredible package. But ultimately, Lucid needs to get profitable on these vehicles. So hopefully they can bring this midsize SUV to market sometime in 2026, but we'll see how this all develops. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see details for the orders that Tesla is canceling, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.